So actually for a student, that means you could be doing something that's really closely tied to career options you're considering, the course that you're studying.
Hello and welcome back to the Careers Cafe podcast, where we celebrate the people and ideas shaping a better world. I'm Ulna Ramsey, your host, and today we are diving into a topic that not only transforms communities, but also enriches our own lives: the incredible benefits of volunteering. In this episode of our podcast, we are joined by Sarah Quinn from VASA, Voluntary Action South Ayrshire, an organisation dedicated to amplifying the impact of volunteers and creating lasting connections between people and causes. We will explore how volunteering can help you gain new skills, boost your confidence, and find a deeper sense of purpose, all while making a tangible difference in the world around you. Whether you are a seasoned volunteer or just thinking about taking that first step, this episode will inspire you to get involved and experience the many rewards of giving back. So Sarah, welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So Sarah, you are a Youth and Saltire Awards Officer at Voluntary Action South Ayrshire. Can you tell us a little bit about VASA, Voluntary Action South Ayrshire's mission, please? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So VASA is one of Scotland's third sector interfaces. So there is one of them in every local authority in Scotland, all 32 local authorities. And our role is essentially to support the third sector. So a lot of people, they know the public sector, which is kind of government and schools. They'll know the private sector, which is obviously business. But you also have the third sector, and that consists of things like charities, community groups, and social enterprises. We support them with a range of things. That's like helping them build social enterprises. A lot of the time there's community groups who really care about a cause, and they're just starting to get up off the ground, and we support them in that. But I'm part of the volunteer team. So what we do is we work with third sector organisations across South Ayrshire to help them get the volunteers they need to do the work that they're doing.
Excellent. So how did you personally get involved with VASA and the volunteering world?
Yeah, so I actually came up as a volunteer as a young person myself, which makes me a bit biased sometimes, I guess, in my role. I started out volunteering when I was about 15 and 16. I tutored with a music charity, tutored young people, teaching them guitar. And then eventually actually ended up standing in the Scottish Youth Parliament elections, which was kind of a really big step for me. I was quite an anxious young person, but that volunteering really helped me build my confidence. It's the reason I'm now able in my job now to like speak to strangers and do talks and things like that and kind of have all the confidence. So really I grew up volunteering, and then this post came up last year when I was just kind of looking for something that allowed me to work with young people. I'm really passionate about youth development, and this was like the perfect fit because I support young people to volunteer.
It's amazing. So you have been volunteering for different organizations, and obviously it benefited you. So why do you think volunteering is so important, especially for students?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the time people think volunteering is just about helping others, and like, don't get me wrong, I think that's a massive and important part of it. I think volunteers have an incredible impact, but I think also the personal impact is something that's often overlooked. Personally for myself, I will talk about myself a wee bit, but for me, I've found volunteering it's helped me build my confidence. It's allowed me to build skills I wouldn't have otherwise had. You can learn a lot of practical skills through things like university and through work. But I found a lot of the social skills I needed for the world of work I didn't gain anywhere in that academic time. I'm quite an academic person, but it wasn't until I volunteered that I actually learned how to maybe lead a team of people or manage others, or even be able to like delegate tasks and work amongst other people. I think that's something you can really only pick up in an environment where you're leaning on each other. And I think volunteering provides that, but in a softer way than the world of work does, because there's that, I guess, gentler approach to taking you on. You've not signed a contract. You're not expected to show up so many hours every week. You've got that opportunity to develop while you're there, which I think is something really unique about volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely. I also volunteered as well, and I came to Scotland and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't have any history of working here. So volunteering helped me, and I worked in charity shops. I taught English to asylum seekers and refugees, and also working in a bookshop as well, so that I could also do some research related to my studies and also the book I was writing at the time. So what are some surprising benefits of volunteering that people might not immediately think of?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest one that stands out to me when I'm doing my role is people think that volunteering is quite limited in what you can do. I get this perception from young people a lot of the time, and it's totally just based on what they see online or in person or what they hear from family members. So it's not their own fault, but they maybe think volunteering is limited, and it's just like going into a charity shop or going into a care home, or your kind of stereotypical roles. And I think as well, we have this image of volunteering that it's just for older people, tends to be older women. It feeds into a lot of stereotypes we have in society, but actually volunteering is for everyone. And I'm not just saying that because we need volunteers. And over in South Ayrshire, there are over 200 different places you can volunteer, different roles you can do. So actually for a student, that means you could be doing something that's really closely tied to career options you're considering, the course that you're studying. We currently have options for people to volunteer teaching drama, for people who have a passion for musical theatre. We have like bike maintenance. There's online opportunities as well, which surprises a lot of people. We actually take volunteers to help create TikToks for charities. So there's that flexibility as well.
That's really good, yeah, because sometimes, as you say, the stereotypes of charity shop or care homes, but actually there's so many different roles, and as you mentioned, some of them are remote, and you don't have to commit many hours. It can be an hour or 3 hours a week or something like that, depending on your lifestyle and beside your studies. Can you share a memorable story of a volunteer whose life or career changed because of their involvement?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to talk about a volunteer who's quite near and dear to my heart. Matthew, who worked with us, and he won't mind me naming him because he's quite a proud volunteer. Matthew started out with us as an ambassador for the Saltire Awards, which is a volunteer award you can get if you are a young person in Scotland. So he started out in, I think you'd agree with me, he was quite a quiet, introspective person. When he started out with us, he would not do anything kind of related to public speaking or anything. He started out actually volunteering with his local community council, which are also lacking in young people. I would encourage any students listening to sign up and join your community council. So important to be engaged in local issues. But as he's volunteered, I've watched him grow, and he actually left school at 5th year to go to university and is now through in Edinburgh doing a myriad of roles. But his volunteering, I've really watched him grow, and I think that's a really valuable part of the job that I do. He really grew into quite a confident person. He can now deliver assemblies, talks and workshops and training, and again take on a leadership that he never would have stepped into if it wasn't for volunteering.
That's fantastic. It's nice to see the difference, helping themselves by helping others as well.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So many students feel like they're too busy to volunteer. What would you say to them? Because obviously you have been students while you're volunteering as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even still volunteer with my job now. I volunteer in my spare time with a local charity called Befriend. Volunteering actually encourages you to build time management skills that are really important for when you leave university. I think sometimes when you're at uni, and I hope students don't mind me saying this, you can find yourself with actually quite a bit of free time, which allows you the time to procrastinate, which you won't have when you're in the world of work. So volunteering forces you to really build a schedule and manage your time. But I also think it's important to note that organisations are really supportive. I work with a lot of organisations who will offer that flexibility to students. If you have exams coming up, they will allow you to take, they're not going to say you can never volunteer again if you have to take a couple of weeks to focus on other priorities. So it's really just about keeping an open line of communication with the organisation, being upfront with them about what else is going on in your life if you've got caring responsibilities, for example, but also not assuming that you won't be accommodated and that option's not there for you, because it absolutely is.
So students might be worried about the balance of academic work and personal responsibilities. So can you share with us some tips, or how do you do this? It's a lot of balancing going.
Yeah. No, I think especially I'm neurodivergent myself, so time management is like a whole extra challenge for me. And I think a lot of neurodivergent students particularly can struggle with imagining introducing a new element to your life. For me, it's really just thinking about what I get out of everything I'm doing. And for me, I know if I wasn't volunteering, I would be missing out on, first of all, for me, I've got like priorities of development. I think from a perspective point of view, thinking about, right, why am I doing this and what am I getting out of it and why is it worthwhile? So that you don't talk yourself out of going or out of introducing that to your life. But also in terms of managing your time, it's really just about, I'm saying this as someone who still struggles to manage deadlines myself, but really just not isolating yourself. I think it can be easy to think, oh, I'll just work on this deadline at 2 a.m, everyone's done it, sat on turn it in at a ridiculous time of night to hand a deadline in. But like I say, it's not sustainable when you go into the world of work. So actually by really kind of being strict on yourself and tough on yourself, you're then preparing yourself for stepping into jobs when you leave and when you graduate. So it is worthwhile almost introducing that strictness now while it's something you don't really want to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at work, you would be the same. You would be juggling different things, balancing time management, as well. So that's really good. So what kinds of opportunities does VASA offer for students?
Yeah, so we work with all of South Ayrshire's third sector organisations, which means that we pretty much can offer almost anything, which is quite fun. There are a range of opportunities currently going. Recently, Ayrshire Hospice opened up an opportunity as a pet therapist. So anyone with a four-legged friend, a dog, could come in and just spend time with people in the hospice and with their dog. And that's volunteering, and that is just as eligible for volunteering as other roles in retail or hospitality. There are a lot of opportunities right now in healthcare, which I think surprises a lot of people. The hospital in Ayr actually takes volunteers, which is a great opportunity for students who are thinking they want to work with vulnerable people. And also a lot of these organisations, they will support you to access training, to get your Protection of Vulnerable Groups certificate, which then obviously is fantastic if you want to work in a disclosed environment. And yeah, there's a lot of really kind of mixed opportunities. Again, like I say, online and offline as well. Online, there's a lot of work as well you can do where you're just connecting with people and speaking to them. And we ourselves actually run a telephone befriending service, which links isolated people in the community with volunteers. For 20 minutes a week, they just chat on the phone. So you could literally just be having a phone call as you're volunteering.
That's really good. So you don't even have to leave your home,
Yeah,
and you can be still doing something good and feel
yeah,
good about it,
yeah.
and the other person will feel better, hopefully, as well. So that's really good. So how can students find the right volunteer opportunity that aligns with their interests and goals? Do you support them?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is to work with young people to find the placement. So anyone interested in volunteering who doesn't really know where to start or what they want to do, which is quite common, can absolutely get in contact with ourselves. I work one-to-one with students to help them find something that really fits career goals or just like interests and hobbies. I spoke to a student the other day who loves music. So we're going to find her something that's related to music so she can use that passion. I'm not about placing people in volunteering that isn't worthwhile for their time and what they have an interest in. There is also a really good resource called Volunteer Scotland, which I would encourage students to look at. We list all of our volunteer opportunities in South Ayrshire on there because I know not everyone has the time to attend meetings with all the busyness of exams and everything. So I would encourage students to have a look on there because it shows you when the availability needed, the tasks and skills you'll get to build and develop, but also what you'll actually be doing. So it gives you a bit of an insight into the variety that there is.
Yeah, it's really, really good because sometimes I see students maybe in 40 and they have nothing on their CV apart
Yep.
from, studying, so
Yeah.
that is worrying sometimes. And so it is very important to have some sort of experience, whether it's paid or unpaid or volunteering or, employment. So thank you for coming and telling us all these benefits. So can you share an example of a project or initiative where students, volunteers made a real difference in the community?
I recently actually had a group of students get in contact with me a couple of months ago. They had decided off their own backs. They were actually college students, which was quite exciting for me. But they got in touch. They were looking to get some materials together for vulnerable people in the community, and they were asking me what charities they could support by doing that. So this was a group that had just become really aware of the poverty that is currently circulating in the UK, all the issues that are going on for local families and areas that are really struggling in South Ayrshire. And they actually got in contact with me, and they were collecting resources from fellow students across the college campus to get toiletries, clothes, even like nice treats for people who maybe wouldn't get to afford that kind of thing, and putting boxes together to give to vulnerable people in the community. And that really moved me because that wasn't coming from a large established organisation. That was just a group of people who really wanted to do some good and got in contact with us to see how they could do that. And I think that's the most moving thing, is when people just really want to make a difference, even no matter how small. If they just made one box, that's someone's life. Their day's been changed and their life's been changed by that one move that they've made. So I think in terms of something that really moved me that a group of students has done, I think that's probably the most impactful because they decide off their own back. And that's what's really cool about volunteering, is it's all about choice and it's all about your own initiative. No one's making you do anything. So really, I think that's what makes it quite empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. The impact, isn't it? So students are making an impact in the community. How about the impact for themselves? So how does volunteering help students develop skills that are valuable in their future careers?
Yeah, absolutely. Managing people and leading a group of people is something a lot of people are really scared of. I was really scared of it when I was coming up through uni. And I think it's something when you're quite comfortable socially around your friends, you don't realise that actually, if you were to step into a workplace and have to deal with strangers or maybe manage others, you'd actually be quite scared, or you wouldn't really know how to go about it. Volunteering is great because it's graduated. So not graduated in the academic sense, but in a gradual way. You start out with really small tasks. So there's a local organisation, actually a national group, Active Schools. When you started volunteering, volunteering with active skills, you were literally your first week can just be sitting at cones or sitting on the bench and watching, and then slowly building up to leading a group and coaching others. So you don't have to walk in the first week and know how to do everything. And I think when you're thinking about, your career goals in the workplace, particularly if you've got a degree, you've got the opportunity to be quite ambitious about what you want to be doing, and you probably want to be going into some kind of role where you're going to be leading others or speaking to others. And I think you can't really build that confidence without actually doing those tasks. It's something you can only really learn by doing. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. I also think there's sort of like almost like mundane tasks that you wouldn't really know how to do. I know a lot of people who are really scared to work in like a retail or hospitality environment, or couldn't do something as simple as picking up a phone. And again, if you go into an office environment, these are things you're going to be expected to do. So I think that's really important and crucial actually, that you almost test yourself and give yourself that soft introduction to doing those things before you leave and before you kind of have to do it head first.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? And I mean, there's so many different skills, valuable skills that you are gaining from volunteering. So that's excellent. So what advice would you give to a student who is on the fence about volunteering, thinking, should I not, not picking up that phone or, email or things like that? So what would you say to them?
I would say do it. There is a massive demand right now in South Ayrshire for volunteers. We are really in need of volunteers. We're in need of skilled volunteers who have different interests and skills and hobbies they can offer to vulnerable communities in South Ayrshire. We are looking for people who know music, that know art, that like a run, that like a walk. We're literally looking for people to go for a walk with people. So if you have no skills at all, you can go outdoors with someone. Even if you think you're not ready for it, you absolutely are. I think that it should really be something, look into yourself and consider, what could I get better at and what would I want to get better at? It's something I do with all my volunteers, because even if you think you're great at everything, there's always one thing you can be just stronger at and maybe more confident in. And I think people always find a million reasons not to do something. There's going to be a million reasons to do something. Consider volunteering, go on to Volunteer Scotland, have a nosy, because honestly, you'll be shocked at actually how interesting and fun volunteering can be. It is not this boring stereotype that everyone has about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also some students, especially if they don't have any experience of working in this country or in general, it also gives a reference, because you can ask for a
Yes.
reference from the manager or people who you worked with, and also gaining friends. If you don't know
Yeah.
anybody, and also, I guess in my case, I'm thinking, I got used to the local accents or,
Yeah.
dialect
Well,
and
in my own case, I only recently moved to South Ayrshire. I got my job here before I started living here. And so volunteering's actually been a tool for me to learn what's in the community. By doing befriending, I get to go on outings to places I've never been. So I'm getting these new experiences alongside the young person I support. So volunteering isn't just about helping others. Honestly, it's like there can be selfish reasons. And particularly as well, if you do struggle with, like, a lot of people now really struggle with anxiety. Particularly, I'm autistic myself. Like, I understand a lot of that can be really intimidating. Organisations have so much support in place for people who have those barriers that maybe would be a huge barrier to employment. They do not need to be a barrier to volunteering at all.
absolutely. And also some organizations do training before you go and start volunteering
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
Yeah, the training will be, qualifications and certificates that can be helpful for your future careers as well. So
Yeah. Also, just from a point on that as well, a lot of organisations look to, when they're employing, will look to bring on people who have already volunteered with them because they've got that training and experience. So from a wee selfish point of view as well, you could be looking at a job at the other side of it.
absolutely. So these charity organizations, sometimes people think all they have is volunteering, but they also have paid opportunities, paid jobs.
Yeah.
That's really good. So where can students learn more about VASA and get involved?
So we post loads of opportunities and information about volunteering on the South Ayrshire Saltire Awards pages. The Saltire Awards being the award for 12 to 25-year-olds in Scotland who are volunteering. Wee bit of promo here. If you're not signed up for the Saltire Awards, do it. It is free. You don't need to submit evidence. It does not tread on your studies at all. But we also post, like I say, all of our opportunities that we get. We list on Volunteer Scotland. That can be filtered by the area you live in. It's filtered by age, so you can make sure you can find something really specific for what you're looking to do.
So if you're listening, check out the description. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
The only thing I can say is start volunteering. If you aren't doing it yet, it's such a life-changing experience that you will not regret giving a go. Just go along, visit a charity, see what it's like, because honestly, your life will be changed for the better.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm hoping our students who are listening to our discussion today will unlock that phone and start making phone calls or email different organisations, check out the website Volunteer Scotland and also South Ayrshire Saltire Awards web pages as well. I hope this is really a good start for your new year in 2025. Start making a difference for yourself and for the community. So remember, if you're ready to apply or want to learn more about different opportunities available, also reach out to the UWS Career Service. We are here to guide you through every step from preparing your CV and cover letters to offering personalised careers advice as well. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time on UWS Careers Cafe, keep exploring, keep learning, and take the next step towards your career goals. Thank you.
You have been listening to the UWS Careers Cafe, the podcast from UWS Careers team with hosts Una Ramsey and Nigel Royal, where we talk about everything related to student and graduate careers. If you have enjoyed listening to this episode, please check out the others in the series. Also, you can follow the link in the description to our website, where you will find an amazing array of career resources to help you forge your path to a rewarding career.